You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to First at 5. I'm Natasha Holt.
And I'm Bianca Smith. Florida is a sunshine state, but showers are not a stranger here.
Let's get right over to UF weather forecaster Sienna Silvest for more details about what we can expect with this rain.
That's right, Natasha. Although we are not seeing showers right now at our live look outside Century Tower, we will expect those showers going into the night. Now, our temperatures here around 82 degrees, our feels like at 86, slightly higher than our actual temperature. Slight wind coming on from the northwest at 9 miles an hour. Now, that storm tracker, we can see storm all over north central Florida. We're tracking two bands. This band right here that is currently going over Alachua County, coming in from those Gulf winds. And then this second band kind of paralleling I-95. Now you can see that red indicating that high intensity rain all across north central Florida in those isolated storms, as well as a bunch of lightning strikes totaling up to 350. Now, our hourly, at 7 p.m., expect those storms to stay. But as we go into the night, around midnight, expect those storms to dissipate and those temperatures to bottom out around high 70s, 77 going into tomorrow morning. Now, coming up, tracking the tropics, the future of Beryl, and how your week is going to be humid, hot, and stormy, and how those rain chances are here to stay. Coming up.
Across the state, wildlife conservationists are preparing for how to protect animals during this year's more active hurricane season. On Florida's Atlantic and Gulf Coast, sea turtle nesting season is underway. Those involved in conservation efforts walk beaches daily to take records on new sea turtle nests and hatchings. But the winds and storm surge from hurricanes can potentially demolish those nests and the eggs inside. In preparation for storms, the nests will be covered and better marked to help protect the eggs hidden beneath the sand. If you're on a beach this summer, you can help sea turtles by being respectful of their nests and leaving the beach clear and flat. Leaving sandcastles, trash, and on the beach and holes in the sand can prevent the tiny sea turtle hatchlings from making it to the ocean.
In the northeast portion of the state, 5 people were rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard after a boat capsized in Jacksonville. A Coast Guard station Mayport boat crew rescued 5 people after their 24-foot vessel capsized. Bystanders directed the launch of the crew. A Coast Guard Air Station helicopter crew assisted with the rescue as well. The boat crew brought all 5 people aboard the response boat and transported them to Mayport boat ramp. No injuries were reported. The vessel was left adrift and the cause of the capsizing is under investigation. Also out of Jacksonville, a man is warning others after a firework incident may have cost him his hand. He's now recovering in a Gainesville hospital after a firework blew up in his hand. The images may be graphic for some viewers. Zion Thomas says a firework did this to his hand. Thomas says it came without warning. Now his wrist is broken and his front teeth are chipped. The firework may have been expired according to Thomas, but the Jacksonville Fire Department says that they're not able to confirm that. Thomas hopes this blast will serve as a warning to others. Jacksonville Fire Rescue Captain Eric Proswimmer reminds everyone that fireworks require a great deal of caution. Proswimmer urges people to use fireworks carefully and to never hold them in their hands.
In crime news out of Marion County, Ocala police want your help and are willing to pay $5,000 for information about the homicide of 31-year-old Faye Porter. Detectives say the crime happened June 29th. If anyone has information regarding this incident, please contact the Ocala Police Department or Crime Stoppers of Marion County.
In national news, this is a pivotal week for President Biden as he faces calls from within his own party to drop out of the presidential race. The 81-year-old incumbent will host a NATO summit in Washington and will hold a rare solo news conference later this week. The drumbeat for Biden to drop out is growing louder following his weak performance in the first debate, though other leading Democrats are coming to his defense. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
President Biden starting out a critical week on offense.
I am not going anywhere.
Calling in to MSNBC's Morning Joe to declare his position.
I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024.
And challenge what he called his party's elites.
If any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
It comes as a growing number of Democratic lawmakers have publicly and privately voiced concerns about the president staying at the top of the ticket after his poor debate performance magnified concerns over his age and fitness. Members of Congress planning closed-door meetings this week after hearing from their constituents back home.
He just can't make it through 4 more years and look vigorous like Americans need. And
I find it fascinating that nobody's asking for his opponent, who's almost as old as he is, mentally fairly confused, not to step down or step aside.
Pennsylvania is a critically important state.
After spending the weekend on the campaign trail, the president writing to congressional Democrats that the party's one job is to beat Donald Trump and that any weakening of resolve only helps him. Several leading Democrats, including members of the influential Congressional Black Caucus, firmly backing President Biden. The president speaking today with jittery donors and preparing to address world leaders at the NATO summit that kicks off tomorrow, putting him and his political future center stage. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Back in our area, Alachua County has been awarded $1.4 million from the U.S. Department of Transportation to improve Southwest 20th Avenue. The project will stretch more than half a mile from Southwest 60th First Street to Southwest 62nd Boulevard. County officials say they expect the project to provide better access to employment opportunities for those in underserved Southwest Gainesville area. When finished, the project may add separate bike lanes, a wide sidewalk, a pedestrian crossing, and other additional traffic lanes.
More statewide news for you. The University of Florida ranks second among the 12 state universities in performance-based funding metrics. The Board of Governors met to discuss the metrics. The list on your screen is of the top 5 universities based off of the metrics, with UF ranking second. Florida's 12 universities are judged on performance in 10 categories. The metrics determine their funding. UF will provide a $65 million investment, and the state will allocate $71 million as a result of the score from the funding metrics.
Here's a local story for museum lovers that you might like. A traveling Smithsonian exhibit is coming to Matheson Museum next week. The exhibition is called Voices and Votes, Democracy in America, and it's going to take you through the past 248 years of American government. Those who visit are going to find some interactive exhibits, photos, videos, and historical objects to learn about the history of the USA. The exhibit will open next Saturday in the main hall of the museum.
How tensions in the Middle East continue as the Israel-Hamas conflict enters its 10th month.
And how TSA managed record-breaking numbers at the airport over the holiday travel rush.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
In international news, more on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel's offensive in Rafah has displaced more than 1 million Palestinians who were taking shelter there. Now, for the first time since the fighting began back in May, CNN is getting a first-hand look at what's left of this city. We have to note that CNN reported from Gaza under Israel Defense Force escort at all times. CNN retained editorial rights over the final report and did not submit any footage to the IDF for review. Here's Jeremy Diamond.
Thick clouds of sand shroud the road to Rafah. But as the dust settles, the destruction is unmistakable. Flattened homes and bombed-out buildings, Gaza's last refuge devastated by the Israeli military assault on this city.
We are now entering the 3rd month of Israeli military operations in Rafah, and you can see all around me the kind of destruction that these last 2+ months of military operations have wrought inside of the city of Rafah. All around destruction, very similar to the kind that I've seen in central Gaza, as well as in the northern part of the Strip.
This is the first time CNN has gotten access to this devastated city. Israel and Egypt have barred journalists from Gaza, except under tightly controlled military embeds like this.
We're working in this area very, very precise, very, very accurate. Unfortunately, the destruction is one to blame, Hamas.
The Israeli military says it has killed over 900 Hamas fighters here and believes it is close to defeating the group's Rafah brigade. But the fighting is clearly not over yet. nor is the effort to uncover Hamas's vast network of tunnels in Rafah.
This tunnel goes down over 28 meters underneath the ground,
as well as along Gaza's border with Egypt.
Right behind me here is the Egypt-Gaza border. We are now driving along what is known as the Philadelphia Corridor, a strategic corridor that the Israeli military seized 2 months ago. They say they did so because they believe Hamas was smuggling weapons across from Egypt and then from this area deeper into Gaza.
Israeli forces say they have uncovered dozens of tunnel shafts here, but cannot definitively say if any of the tunnels stretching into Egypt were operational.
We found dozens like the tunnels that you saw, and we are researching those tunnels carefully, making sure which ones were functional, which ones are not functional anymore because maybe they were from the Egyptian side stopped.
So will this be the last ground operation then, Rafah?
I won't say that because what you will see is when we'll have intelligence that maybe there are hostages, one of the points in Gaza, we will operate.
Before leaving Gaza, our convoy drives by what's left of the Gazan side of the Rafah border crossing. Once a lifeline for millions of Palestinians, it now lies in ruins. The Israeli military says it is now facilitating a safe corridor for these trucks to deliver aid to Gaza via Israel's Kerem Shalom crossing. But humanitarian aid groups say the roads are still not safe. And simply not enough aid is getting in as the war rages on. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Rafah, Gaza.
TSA officers set a new record Sunday for most travelers screened in a single day. More than 3 million people passed through U.S. airport security on Sunday, a record that was widely expected to happen at some point over the July 4th holiday weekend. Sunday's screening record surpasses previous records set just last month when TSA officers processed 3 million travelers on June 23rd. According to the U.S. Transportation Security Administration, this year has been their busiest yet, with 8 of the 10 busiest days in TSA's history happening this year. Hurricane Beryl caused widespread damage after coming ashore Monday morning. One house was crushed after a tree came down in a Houston neighborhood. Fire officials say 2 people were trapped by the falling tree, but a pair of bystanders stepped in to free them, breaking a window to free one of them and waiting for emergency crew to arrive to save the other. Beryl is forecasted to quickly weaken and become a tropical storm as it moves north through eastern Texas over the next 12 hours.
Beryl made landfall early this morning as a Category 1 hurricane in Matagorda, Texas. Its future track and back-at-home temperatures and rainfall up next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. Beryl made landfall this morning between Corpus Christi and Galveston, Texas at 4 a.m. Central Time as a Category 1 hurricane. Now, currently, Tropical Storm Beryl is towards the north of Houston at 45 miles an hour and is expected to bump down possibly to a tropical depression. Now, even though that intensity was bumped down from a hurricane to a tropical storm, Texas did get an enormous amount of rainfall. You can see Houston as well as a little bit more towards the coast, up to a foot of rainfall surrounding areas between 4 and 8 inches. But good news, the National Hurricane Center has not identified any other chance of development in the Atlantic right now, so we could see a break going into the next week. But taking it back home, it is hot. Our heat indexes in the triple digits all across north central Florida. 103 in Gainesville, 105 in Bronson, 104 up in Jacksonville. And because of these high temperatures, there is a heat advisory up until 7 p.m. Now those storms right here, we are tracking these 2 bands that are causing up to 300 lightning strikes, as well as that red indicating that high intensity rain in both Alachua as well as Marion County. Now, our future track, you can see this band right here, the pattern you're going to see the inland rain dissipating around midnight and going into the morning. Now, our outlook of this rainy weather, heavy rain rates because of those low wind stalling those rain possibly causing local flooding, as well as watch out for a few strong gusts. Now, going into our 7-day outlook, expect those rain rates to stay between 70 and 80% this week, and those temperatures a little bit lower than we saw today in the upper 80s and lower 90s. Now, a different pattern from the last couple of days. Expect those storm chances to occur before lunchtime and cloudy skies all throughout the day instead of just past 4 p.m. So make sure you're packing an umbrella when you leave for work and break out those board games for this wet and rainy week.
Square watermelon shipments are underway this year in Japan. A farmer in Zentsuji City has been growing the square watermelons for 50 years. The watermelons are often used for decorative purposes rather than eating, and they can be a little pricey. Around 200 of the unique fruit were collected at the shipping area on July 3rd, a week later than usual due to weather conditions. A total of 400 square watermelons are expected to be shipped out by mid-July. If you're looking to buy one, be prepared to dig deep. They can go for around $100 or more in Japan.
The All-Star game is on the way. The roster has been named, and former Gator Pete Alonso was named as a reserve for the National League. Alongside Alonso with the National League is Bryce Harper, Kettle Marte, Alec Boehm as starters, and Mookie Betts as a reserve. The game will be televised July 16th. One final note, Gators track and field star Parker Valby is officially an Olympian. Valby clinched her spot for the 2024 Summer Olympics in the 10,000-meter run this past weekend.
Expect cooler temperatures and an increase of rain going into the weekend.
Thanks for joining us. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
And your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and all of those social media platforms. Have a good night.